All right, if you've got an economics exam coming up, you are in exactly the right place. We are about to do a deep dive into two concepts you absolutely have to master: the law of demand and elasticity. So, let's get you prepped with the clarity you need to walk into that exam and absolutely crush it.
Here's our game plan. First, we're going to build the foundation, what demand really is in economics. Then, we'll get into the core law that drives everything. After that, we're going to clear up a super common point of confusion: shifts versus movements, before we learn how to actually measure demand's responsiveness with elasticity. And we'll wrap it all up with a quick-fire exam review. Let's dive in.
First up, effective demand. You see, in normal, everyday life, when we say we demand something, we just mean we want it. But in the world of economics, and this is critical for your exam, that word has a much, much stricter meaning.
So, let's think about this for a second. We all want the newest, shiniest smartphone, right? But does that mean we're all demanding it from an economist's point of view? The answer is a hard no, and understanding why is the first key to unlocking this topic. Okay, this is the definition you need to tattoo on your brain for the exam. Effective demand is the quantity that buyers are willing and able to purchase. Now, those two words, willing and able, are everything. They're the magic words that'll get you the marks. Let's break down exactly what they mean.
So for demand to actually exist in an economic sense, all three of these pillars have to be standing. First, you've got to have the desire. That's the easy part, the wanting. Second, you need the means to purchase, the actual money, the purchasing power. And third, and this is the one people forget, you need the willingness to pay. Just because you have the money in your bank account doesn't mean you're actually ready to part with it for that specific item. All three have to be a yes.
Okay, now that we've nailed what demand actually is, let's get to the main event. This is one of the absolute cornerstones of all of economics: the law of demand itself.
This classic definition from Alfred Marshall lays it all out. It's a simple, powerful inverse relationship. All it's saying is that when the price of something goes down, people will want more of it. And when the price goes up, people will want less. But, and here's a key phrase for your exams, this is only true ceteris paribus. It's a Latin term that just means all other things being equal. We're assuming nothing else is changing in the background. The easiest way to see this law in action is with something called a demand schedule. Just look at this table for ice cream. When a cup costs 60 rupees, our consumer is like, nah thanks, they demand 0. But watch what happens. As the price starts to fall, the quantity they demand goes up and up. At just 10 rupees, they're ready to buy 10 cups. It's that inverse relationship in black and white.
And if you take that data from the table and just plot it on a graph, you get the famous demand curve. It always slopes downwards from left to right. It's the perfect visual proof of the law of demand. High prices up on the left with low quantity, and low prices down on the right with high quantity.
Okay, now we're getting to a topic that trips up so many students. Seriously, the difference between a movement along the curve and a shift of the entire curve. Pay really close attention here, because if you get this right, you're grabbing easy marks on your exam.
It's actually pretty simple when you lay it out like this. A movement is caused by one thing and one thing only: a change in the product's own price. That's it. But a shift? That's caused by any other factor changing, like your income goes up or a new trend starts. And notice the terminology is different too. A movement is an expansion or contraction. A shift is an increase or decrease. Using the right words is key.
So let's zoom in on movement. Think about our ice cream curve again. If the shop drops the price from 40 rupees to 20, we just slide down along the same curve to a higher quantity. That's an expansion of demand. If they raise the price, we just climb back up the curve to a lower quantity. That's a contraction. The most important thing to remember is the curve itself hasn't moved an inch.
But what if something else changes? Say there's a huge heat wave and suddenly everyone in town wants ice cream, or maybe everyone gets a big pay raise. In that case, the entire demand curve physically shifts to the right. That's an increase in demand, which means people want to buy more ice cream at every single price level. The opposite, like a sudden cold spell, would shift the whole curve to the left, a decrease in demand.
So we know that when price changes, the quantity people want to buy also changes. But the next big question, the one that takes you from basic to advanced understanding, is by how much? Just how sensitive is demand to a change in price? To answer that, we need a tool, and that tool is called elasticity. Here's the textbook definition for you.
Price elasticity of demand, or PED for short, is all about measuring the percentage change in how much people buy in response to a 1% change in the price. It's basically putting a number on how responsive or stretchy demand is. This is how real businesses make huge decisions about their pricing.
And here is the formula you've got to burn into your memory. Price elasticity is simply the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. It looks simple, but this little ratio tells a huge story about how consumers behave.
This table is absolute gold for your notes. Go ahead, screenshot it. If the number you calculate is less than 1, we say demand is inelastic. Think of something essential like life-saving medicine. Even if the price changes, people still have to buy it. If the number is greater than 1, demand is elastic. Think of a luxury car. If the price drops a little, demand might just explode. And if it's exactly 1, we call it unit elastic.
All right, we're in the home stretch. Let's lock it all in with a final, rapid-fire review. This is where we cement the key ideas and, just as importantly, highlight the common traps you need to sidestep to get every possible mark on that exam.
First, the formulas. Obviously, you've got price elasticity, that's the big one. Percent change in quantity over percent change in price. But also remember there's income elasticity, which checks how demand changes when your income changes, and cross-price elasticity, which looks at how demand for one good changes when the price of another good changes.
And here are the top mistakes I see students make year after year. Number 1, don't you dare confuse a shift with a movement. We've gone over it, you know the difference. 2, always remember to mention ceteris paribus when you state the law of demand. It shows you really get it. And here's a pro tip. Don't mix up inferior goods and Geffen goods. It's a subtle point, but getting it right will definitely make your answer stand out.
So, I'll leave you with this classic application question to really test your understanding. If a product's demand is elastic, meaning customers are super sensitive to the price, what should a business do to make more money? Should they raise the price or lower it? Think about it. The answer lies in figuring out if the change in price or the change in quantity will have a bigger impact on the final revenue. Okay, good luck with your studies. You've got this.